Let me tell you something, America. Let me say it straight, with my whole heart, with all the truth I can carry. Donald J. Trump should never win the Nobel Peace Prize. Because we need to be crystal clear about what this really means and what it says about us as a people when someone mentions Donald Trump and the Nobel Peace Prize in the same breath. It's not just laughable, it's insulting to every human being who has ever risked everything to fight for peace, to speak for the voiceless, to defend the sanctity of life. You see, peace isn't just about not starting a war. Peace is about how you lead. Peace is about how you show up when the world is burning. It's about the values you uphold, the bridges you build, and the healing you bring. Donald Trump didn't lead with love. He led with vengeance. He didn't unify, he polarized. He didn't calm the storms, he stirred them. He used power not to bring people together, but to watch them turn on each other. And yet we are supposed to pretend he deserves the same honor given to people like Martin Luther King Jr. or Malala Yousafzai. I won't stand for that, I refuse, because I remember with pain in my chest those children sobbing in cages at the southern border. I remember the cries of mothers torn away from their babies. I remember the trauma, the damage, the wounds that still haven't healed. And I watched a president who didn't show remorse, who didn't show grace, who didn't lose a moment's sleep. He did it all with smugness and cruelty. You don't traumatize innocent lives in the name of law and order and then claim you're a peacemaker. That's not leadership, that's abuse of power. And if you cheered for that, if you looked away, then you need to ask yourself what you truly believe in. Because a man who weaponizes human pain to score political points is not someone who deserves the highest honor on earth for peace. What he deserves is a reckoning with the truth. And that truth is simple. He spread fear. He empowered cruelty. He led with fists instead of open hand. Let's not forget the darkest stain of all, January 6th. That day didn't just shake democracy, it shattered it. We watched as a mob of his supporters, emboldened by his lies, desecrated the Capitol, and he didn't rush to stop it. He didn't call for calm. He watched it happen. Some say he even enjoyed it. People died that day, heroes, innocent souls, and this man who now gets whispered about as a Nobel nominee, this man didn't mourn, he didn't show humility, he doubled down, he made excuses. That's not peace, that's not integrity, that's chaos cloaked in arrogance. And yet we are supposed to sit here and entertain the idea that he stands shoulder to shoulder with Gandhi, with Desmond Tutu. Lord, forgive us if we let that happen, because when you stay silent in the face of that kind of betrayal, you are complicit in rewriting truth. And when we talk about the Nobel Peace Prize, we are talking about the world. We are talking about humanity. We are talking about someone who represents unity across borders. And let's be honest, Trump made the world more dangerous. He pulled out of the Paris Climate Accord when the planet needed us most. He insulted allies, withdrew from humanitarian efforts, and cozied up to autocrats who don't believe in human rights. He didn't spread peace across the globe. He spread confusion. He made America look like a tantrum-throwing child on the world stage. Diplomacy became a joke under him, tweets instead of treaties, threats instead of trust, and still some folks dare to say he deserves a peace prize. We need to stop confusing bravado with bravery. Bullying is not strength. Insulting your allies doesn't make you a disruptor, it makes you a liability. The world needs leaders who heal. He did not. And now let's get to the heart of the matter, the lies, the 30,000 plus documented. We watched truth die a slow death during those 4 years. Science was mocked, journalists were targeted, whistleblowers were crushed. And through it all, Trump grinned and called it winning. But peace cannot stand on a foundation of lies. You cannot manipulate millions, pit neighbor against neighbor, and then ask for the same award as a man who forgave his oppressors. Peace is about truth. It's about lifting people into light, not dragging them into delusion. And if you ask me, giving Trump the Nobel would say to the world, we no longer care about truth, we care about clout. And that is a tragedy we cannot allow. So what now? Now we protect what is sacred, because the Nobel Peace Prize is not just an award, it's a symbol. It stands for all that is good, brave, and selfless in this world. We owe it to the peacemakers, those who walked into danger unarmed, who stood between hate and hope to guard that legacy with everything we've got. We owe it to the next generation to show them that honor still means something, that character matters, that peace isn't about power, it's about presence. And Trump, for all his showmanship and noise, never brought peace into the room, not once. So no, he does not deserve that prize. He doesn't deserve to wear that history, and we must be brave enough to say it, loud and without apology, because silence now would be betrayal, and history is watching. Because when you really sit down and reflect, really reflect in the quiet moments when truth won't let you look away, you begin to see how dangerous it is to treat titles like the Nobel Peace Prize as if they're souvenirs, because it is not just a medal, it's not a campaign promise, it's not something you slap on a resume to boost your brand. And Donald Trump, he has always been about the brand. Everything he touches, he wants to monetize, to control, to twist into a performance. And if the Nobel Peace Prize were ever handed to him, it would represent performance, because he never showed up to lead. He showed up to win, to conquer, to dominate, and domination is not peace. Power without compassion is not peace. Barking commands and walking out of meetings is not peace. Let's go back, shall we? Back to the very first weeks of his presidency. I remember the Muslim ban. I remember the panic in airports, the heartbreak of families being torn apart in real time, mothers crying, children confused, people held for hours just for having the wrong last name. You don't create peace by sowing fear. That was not a policy, that was propaganda with a presidential seal. And when people protested peacefully, mind you, Trump didn't listen. He dismissed them, he mocked them, he told them to go back where they came from. My God, what kind of man does that? Not a peacemaker, not a soul worthy of one of humanity's highest honors. No, that man was driven by resentment, not reconciliation, and I watched him walk into every international room like a wrecking ball. NATO, the United Nations, the G. Instead of building coalitions, he broke them down. Instead of calming tensions, he provoked them. He treated global partnerships like enemies to be crushed. And we paid for that. The world became colder under Trump, more tense, more dangerous, and I will not be silent while people forget that he mocked leaders who dared to speak truth to him. He puffed out his chest and insulted people who had spent their careers stitching peace into the fabric of a broken world. That's not leadership, that's ego in a power suit. And for someone to even suggest his name for a prize that once honored Nelson Mandela, that is a desecration of legacy. That is spitting in the face of everyone who walked through fire to make this world a little gentler. And let's be honest, he didn't inspire people toward peace. He inspired people toward division. We saw it in Charlottesville. We saw it in the send her back chants. We saw it every time he called journalists the enemy of the people. He didn't disarm conflict. He fed it. He fed the rage, the paranoia, the tribalism. You do not hand the Nobel Peace Prize to someone who turns neighbor against neighbor, who makes people fear each other in the grocery aisle, who made facts so bendable that we began to question reality itself. That's not peace. That's chaos in a business. Even in moments when the world was begging for unity, when we were facing a global pandemic, did he unify? Did he comfort the people? Did he lead with calm and care? No, he called it a hoax. He blamed everyone but himself. He made masks political. He watched as Americans died in the hundreds of thousands and still claimed he had done a beautiful job. There's nothing beautiful about that kind of indifference. There's nothing peaceful about burying your people under lies. And there is certainly no honor in turning a once-in-a-century tragedy into a campaign slogan. If you can't bring peace to your own people in their darkest hour, you have no business accepting a prize meant for peacemakers. And I'll say this again because it needs to be heard. Peace is not the absence of war. Peace is the presence of justice. Peace is the presence of dignity. Peace is the choice to meet cruelty with courage, to meet brokenness with boldness, and to meet hate with healing. Donald Trump did none of those things, not once, not when it counted. He had the power, the platform, and the opportunity, and he squandered all three. So no, Donald Trump should not win the Nobel Peace Prize. Not because he's a Republican, not because of politics, but because he failed the test of humanity, because when the world was watching, when history was writing, when pain was flooding the streets, he chose himself every single time.